Hey everyone, welcome to my new podcast. I am Melissa Jolly Graves, the Rebel Prophet. Now, how did I come to this name? I didn't want to rise up to it. I didn't want to actually form into it. It was something that was chosen for me by many different people. There are many prophecies that I have said in this lifetime, all of which have come true. But I don't live like other prophets. I don't live like the gurus. I don't conform to a lot of the practices that others do. If you were to see me on the streets, if you were to see me out in public, you wouldn't look at that girl and say, hey, she's a prophet. You probably wouldn't even look at me and even think that I was intuitive. You probably just think I was a normal person doing normal things, just like you, living a normal life. Truth is, I feel the life I live is normal. When others reflect on my life, it's not the vision that they would say is normal. But for me, I accept it. 2 years ago, I set out to do this podcast. I made a little character. I had a whole website design. Everything was ready. I kept waiting for that perfect time, that perfect moment, the right script that was in my head, the right topic. What was I going to do? Because if I were to come out to be the Rebbel Prophet and start doing the podcast, then I knew it was my time to start living the godly truth of life. And when I say the godly truth of life, I mean that is as in the creator, the form of divinity of which I like to look at as a God. But the funny thing about God is the closer that you get to God, the more that you see it, the more that you research in any different religion or any belief, even science sometimes. The one thing that I always heard back is that we were made in the image of Creator. So, unlike most people who serve God, I started to realize something that God didn't want us to live the purest life possible. God didn't want us to have an easy life, to stay within the lines, to stay within the rules. God wanted us to be righteous, a community, a being that had a symbiotic relationship with all universal beings. There was so much beauty that was set out for Earth, so much potential, great artwork, great ideas, very few limitations, lots of chaos. If we were made in the image of God, if we were made in the image of Allah, Creator, Shiva, Horus, we were, or Ra, sorry, I should say, if we were made in the image of our Creator, and we are just like Creator, then is it possible that Creator has emotions such as sadness, anger, ego, love, everything in between? I researched 507 religions. And I'm going to say, yeah, A lot of our emotions stem from the God we serve, whether that be creator, whether that be something in a church or a religious atmosphere, a temple, whatever that is, we are a byproduct of our creator. And so therefore, when you look at it in that sense, when you really look into it, then you realize that all things that are happening are creator reacting to itself. And then when you go into the depths of why would creator hurt itself? Why would it come to life to fruition, to pull a gun and kill something else? Why would it speak ill? And then you start to think about what happens in your own head. If creator is the great observer and witness to all things, yet the designer of all things, but yet nobody else is with creator and creator is within itself, then all of a sudden you start to see that within the brain that you have, a lot of the thoughts that you have are okay and stimulated and probably mimicked from what creator has already projected. And then when you start to see that, and you start to see all of the things that are included in this life, and you start to pull back, witness, watch, be present, rather than jump into specific opinions, take sides, you can start to see the whole and how all different energies, good and bad, are serving. They may not always see that they're serving, but it always serves something. It may not be you. You might have just been something that was needed to hold space for that energy to happen to somebody else. And I started looking at all of these different people that are talking, and I started looking to all of these different influencers. And there's certain algorithms. There are certain lines and gimmicks and editing and all of these things that a person can do so that their story can seem so perfect that people listen. They want to be there. They're captivated by it. I also saw that they were captivated by what was fake. We're used to the world that's edited. We're used to the world that is using the gimmicks. That's not something I want to be a part of. And I realized that. And yesterday was a breaking moment for me in my life. Now, I've had many breaking moments in my life. But this one, out of all of the miracles and everything that I've ever done, shook me to my core. And I can't get it out of my head. And I keep seeing it. And when things bother me, I go inward and I really ask, what is the bother? Why does this hurt so much? Why am I thinking about this so much? What makes me even, if it's even something that I'm so happy about, that maybe other people wouldn't be happy about, what is causing emotional reaction? Now, yesterday, I woke up to my daughter calling me. And she was having an emergency with my grandbaby. And it was a pretty big moment in my life. And that moment really had me jarred to the point And I realized I need to start speaking up. I need to start saying something. There are forces, there are influences, there are different words that are being used. So manipulation can happen, different editing tools, lighting, so things can happen. People in their perfect makeup, their perfect hair, their lives looking perfect. That's not my life. Never was, never will be. In fact, on my way to seeking sovereignty, on my way to seeking divinity, on my way to speaking about and to Melissa Jolly Graves, myself, I stumble. I get lost. There are huge distractions. I cough. I drink water. I just finished a bag of Cheetos also. I don't always eat the right food. But when I show up to spirit, when I show up to do what I need to do, I will always do it 100%. I will do it with realism, authenticity. I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be real. I'm going to say all the things that nobody wants to hear. And I'm going to talk about all the different sides because I want to see how Creator sees. I want to look at the world in the eyes of Creator. I want to see a world for what it can be and not what it is. And I can no longer live in these lies. I can no longer be stuck and held back by other people's emotions and wondering what they're going to think about me, what they're going to say about me, how much energy they're going to take from me. I'm going to continue to make excuses in my life to not progress forward. Because truthfully, what I have to say is so earth shattering. It is so mind bending. It is so much information that I have spoke my truth to people and literally watched them have mental breakdowns. Not because what my words were it wasn't because of me coming up with imagination. It wasn't because I was using words that were manipulative or that were gimmicky or that created a certain storyline. I wasn't here to say, well, you have to choose this side or this side. I often tell people, question me, do your own research internally, externally, read books, research, meditate, use your intuition. We all have it. We are at a point in this world where we need people to speak the truth in ways that is just raw and real. We need people speaking about the things that they are seeing and witnessing, not things that they have just read from something else. If you're speaking about something, invest yourself in it. And whatever you do in life, whatever it is you do in life, do it well. If you're going to go drop truth bombs, drop them well. But make sure that you have done all of your research, all of the data, everything and anything that you put out. Try to do the research. And now know that I have done the research all my life. But I still honor it. And each time a new subject is brought up, I go and I research. And I love to be challenged. And if you're going for the most authentic you, if you are going to see who you are, your truest self, you're going to need people to oppose you. You're going to need people to question you, question your character, question your morals, question what you say, question what you do, question all of it. Because when they question you, you question yourself. And when you question yourself, you get to answer yourself. And when you answer yourself, it solidifies who you are. And in this world right now, we are in a place where people do not know who they are. They're lost in other people's dreams, other people's memories, experiences, movies, books, lies, manipulation. They say things without even knowing what they're speaking about because they don't know themselves enough to know the words that come out of their mouth mean something. Some people just speak to speak because they know no one's listening. I want to listen to you guys. I want to hear you. I want you to hear me. The things that I'm going to say on this podcast are wild, are crazy, sometimes really simple. And I'm going to try to start it out that way. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the up, down, left, right, everything. We're going to talk about God, earth, resources, water. We're going to talk about war, racism, crime, spirituality, our body, autism, mental illnesses, goofy human behavior, good things that people are doing. And I'm just going to do it raw. I'm going to do it real. I'm going to say what I say. And I'm going to hope that people listen to the full content of the words that I'm going to say, because I have spoken publicly on the internet, even in my writings. And some people, just like the Bible, take just a little part of that scripture, a little part of what I say, and they change the meaning. But that's what humans do. My perspective will not be the same as what your perspective is when this video or this podcast come out. Your take, the words that you heard, is going to be completely different from you to me to the other people listening to this. My life, I was born a seer, which means that when I was born, I saw things that were outside of this world. I could see energy move. I saw angels, demons, ghosts, things moving, walls breathing. I see stars in white, red, blue, green. While I was growing up, the things that I was seeing were portrayed as hallucinations. My parents tried to diagnose me. They tried to understand what and who I was. The best they could come up with was, by the time I was about 14, the best that they could say was that I was anorexic and depressed. Because the things that I was seeing, the things that I was saying, they were real. No, I'm not going to say I didn't lie as a kid, because I lied as a kid. I once told my parents that some kid came and took my keys and threw them on the top of a roof. And then I got locked out of the house and I couldn't get my keys down, when the truth was I took my keys and I tried to get an icicle down because I wanted to suck on an icicle, because I was born in the 70s. And that's what you did as a kid in the 80s. You sucked on icicles. It was safe back then, I think. I don't know. Truth is, I also have neuroblastoma. This is one of the most terminal cancers that a person can have. And I've been dealing with this since October 26th of 2021. Sorry. It is an adrenal tumor that affects my hormones. It has also, in the past, it affected my pituitary, hypothalamus, and thyroid. I am now cleared of all of that and just working on the adrenal tumor. It's growing just a little bit. Now, last year, it was just 0.3 centimeters. So just a little bit, but because it is still in growth, it's considered cancer. For the last 4 years, I have been working on natural ways to help my body heal. And I have been doing my best to achieve optimal health through lifestyle, herbs, lots and lots and lots of holistic healing, HBOT, oxygen therapy. I was able to go to the Barbara O'Neill Cancer Center and learn so much there. And these are all things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the angels. I want to talk about the demons. I want to talk about what I saw. I want to talk about what it feels like when the world tells you that you're crazy, when you see reality. Thank God for science catching up. I am so excited that I am at an age where we have so many scientists that are catching up to the things that I was saying so I can make the things that I was seeing make sense to the outside world. We're going to talk about racism. We're going to talk about religion, government. We're going to talk about cults, sacred geometry, astrology, spirituality, child trauma, the elder in ourselves. We're going to have so many conversations about life that I hope that we all can gain a connection. Because truth is, another reason I haven't wanted to do these podcasts, I don't want followers. I want friends. I don't want people stalking me. I don't want people being fans or thinking that I am bigger, better, or different or anything to achieve to. That's not the point of this. And I've really held back. Honestly, I don't want fame. Honestly, I don't want to be out here talking about my life, about my stories, about everything that I have to say, because they're wild, they're crazy, they're unique. And yes, I said crazy. So for all of those people that are going to comment about crazy, 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 I accept that. That's a part of language I accept. And I accept it because normalcy these days seems absolutely crazy to me. It seems so crazy to think I'm going to grow up, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to go to a school again, and then I'm going to be in debt, but I'm going to go and try to start a family so I can get married, more in debt. I'm going to have a family, more in debt. And then I'm going to work a 9 to 5 and always be in the hole. So therefore, I'm going to be completely miserable. And by the time I'm done working, I don't have any time for anybody else. So I'm going to go eat fast food, which is really bad for my body. And I'm going to pick this up for me and the kids. And I'm going to give the kids this fast meal. And then I'm going to go watch TV, fall asleep. I'm going to do it all over again. And then on the weekends, I'm going to do chores and I'm going to do housework and I'm going to do all the shopping. And I'm going to try to get in whatever fun I can do so that I can do that again. And then I'm going to watch the news and believe everything that I see and have an opinion that is stable in anything. That is absolute crazy to me. In fact, they started building these robots that started doing human jobs, doing factory work, data entry, all of these other things. And these robots actually shut themselves down because the robots that were programmed to do the human jobs said, nope, this isn't life. This is pointless. And they shut themselves down. Read it, research. We'll be talking a lot about robots. We'll be talking a lot about AI. But today, just want to say hello. I just want to let you know my house is messy. Yep, I'm redoing my house. Want you to know, thank you and I appreciate you. All of those out there who pushed me to do this. If you don't know me and you haven't seen the projects that I'm involved in right now, I'm Melissa Jolly Graves. I'm a mother of three beautiful children, a Gigi to three beautiful grandbabies. I have a husband that was completely designed for me in all of the ways. And my life isn't perfect. But what I found and what this world has gifted me is that people like Melissa the best when Melissa is just her. There's no script. There's no, we're going to do this first. We're going to set this up. They're going to plan. Because if you know Melissa, I freak out during plans. I am so better spontaneous with the flow. A little about me though. So I grew up in a home that was very dysfunctional. Father wasn't there for my birth, didn't know my name for the first few months. Mother was very emotionally, verbally, physically abused by my father. My father, he lived a very promiscuous life. Let's talk about it. We're going to say it all, right? Okay, sure. So my dad worked for LAPD for a while, way back in the 70s. He was put there by mafia and worked his way up. He ended up going in there, uh, doing some crazy stuff. My mom got scared. My mom wanted to move to Minnesota. We end up moving to Minnesota. We move in with my grandparents. My dad comes there. He gets on the SWAT team. He's doing some stuff that was very illegal, and they end up getting him arrested. Well, we were told that he was arrested, but that he got fired. Multiple times throughout my life, I was told that my dad was in and out of jail. Turns out he was never in jail and was just living life without us, was saying, hey, I got to go in. He got dropped off of jail, picked right up at jail, and lived his life without us. He had a double life, and you know what, I'm okay with that. If I'm being honest, I'm 100% okay with that. We'll also talk about that later. I don't want you, when I'm telling my story, to feel any kind of pain, any kind of remorse, or feel like, oh, poor Melissa, because there's no poor Melissa in my story. Okay, there's no poor Melissa. There's thank you God, thank you for the life, thank you for the lessons, and we honor you, the fact that you trusted this in Melissa's life. So I just want to make that clear. So as you're hearing my story, I'm going to say it really nonchalantly. I've said it a million times. I'm okay with telling it. My dad was an abuser, and my dad allowed things in the house to happen. In fact, um, he actually was he had murdered some people. That's public knowledge. And I'm going to be honest with that. Now, am I proud of that? Absolutely not. My mom, she has some addiction issues, and that's an issue. I was in foster home by 14. I was adjudicated and my own guardian, and allowed to be out of foster home with my own guardianship at the age of 16. I had my own apartment by then. I went to school. I did work. And then I went on to move to Iowa. Uh, that's where I finished my high school and ended up trying to have a one night stand, and instead fell in love somehow, moved in with a guy. We ended up finding out I had some medical issues. So I wanted to have a baby. They said, now might be your only chance. We had a son. I had broke up with my high school sweetheart then, and I so that I could have this relationship. And we had, well, I broke up with my high school sweetheart, not because of the relationship, but because the relationship that we had wasn't serving, and I wanted another relationship. So I was seeking another relationship. And my best friend at the time, Magdalena, had invited me to meet up with Bill. And Bill and I just hit it off. Like we hadn't seen each other in 100 years, and something magical happened. We move in together and we decide to have a baby. We have the baby. Things are not the best between us, and especially at that time, not between his parents and my boundaries, and my parents and my boundaries. And so um, things got rocky, and we both went back to our high school sweethearts. I moved back to Minnesota with my son. Uh, Bill and I were actually on great terms at the time. End up with my high school sweetheart and have my two daughters. We get married. And now during this time, life is rocky. And yeah, I'm just rambling. I'm telling you guys my life, and I'm telling you all of my imperfections. I'm going to tell you all of my imperfections instead of my perfections. Maybe someday you'll get my perfections. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to witness it yourself. But the truth be told, I just want to be raw and I want to be real. And there's not people out there that are raw and real and willing to talk about their life and their sacrifice and how they got to the point where they can even inspire people, or get to the point where they're even that guru that can get through things. When something happens, it just slides off your back. Yeah, I'm to that point, but I'm also not to the point where I'm going to sacrifice my life and my fun uh for for I don't know, for a hope that I might get a better sip of the Holy Grail. Because truth is if you're a good person and you actually have good morals, and if you find that you did something wrong, you try to make it up, or you're real, you're honest about it. You don't try to hide it, because confession is huge. So you guys you guys are going to get all of my confessions. This is my life. This is what it is. This is what made this podcast that's going to happen. That's going to be so epic. Anyways, back to the story. So I'm just going to say something very dramatic happened. Um, and I abruptly left the relationship. I adore um, the fact that I was able to get back with my high school sweetheart. I loved him. He was the love of my life at that point. Um, Even though I had gone through a marriage, he asked, Kim had asked me to marry him, and I just said, "Oh my gosh, I love it." And yeah, we got married, and it was supposed to be this beautiful romance story. And it just didn't end up being that way. And that's okay, because it led me to one of the most beautiful stories that I have. And that's my third marriage. So yeah, this is why I call myself the Rebbel Prophet. And this is also why I kind of held back, because if the Rebbel Prophet is going to tell the world all the things and how they can be godly, how they can make their life better for themselves, how they can gain a connection, even though they went through hell and hardship. And if you saw it as the place of like, God did this to me, you would be so upset. But if you saw it in the other perspective as God did this to me, you can be so rejoiceful. So yeah, ended up getting divorced again. Now, mind you, in that relationship, there was a lot of energy and a lot of go. So I have to now pull it back again. We're jumping all over, and that's what we're gonna do. This is my style. So, born a seer, saw angels, saw demons, saw all this other stuff, went to counseling. I was in and out of worlds. And when I tell you guys in and out of worlds, I mean, I literally could not tell what world I was in when I was young. I would have visions where Earth just wasn't even a thing and I was in a complete different reality. I'd walk into walls, I would cut myself, I'd fall down, I'd fall down the stairs, I wouldn't respond in class, I wouldn't respond to my parents. Sometimes I just followed things outside. Um, Looking back, my parents had a lot to deal with. Well, my mom did at least. My stepdad, real dad, ended up leaving when I was around 6. Thank God he did. Really left, was kind of in and out, and then really left when I was 8. Now, in this time, I was also having visions. Things were happening. There was a lot going on in my life. I was being sexually abused, not by family, by friends of my father, and I was very young. I started my really I started my sexual experience when I was 4. I started my menses when I was 8, which is why I really have this neuroblastoma cancer, which is a childhood cancer. Most get diagnosed between the ages of 5 and 8, and I got diagnosed when I was 42, 40, almost 43. And as far as I know, I'm one of the older ones. There's only 3 doctors in the entire United States that actually works with this particular cancer, understands it. And that's not in states I'm in, California, Florida, Texas, which has been really great because it's really helped me be independent in my healthcare and the choices that I make. And I've learned so much that I can tell you guys down the line of how to get things done if you don't have insurance or you don't have your doctor around you. So dad left when I was 8. Mom ended up remarrying, and there were 6 stepchildren that were there. Now, when we were young and the family was coming together, we got along pretty good. As we grew up, tensions happened, and then my parents made the choice to just up and move and not tell any of them and tell me and my sister we couldn't talk to them or have anything to do with them. So we moved to Iowa, and it was quite literally, I was home one day and my stuff was there. And then my parents are picking me up at my friend's house, and we're on our way to Iowa. And now my stuff is in this new home that I never got to see, that I never knew of. So it was pretty traumatic, but it is what it is. Um, Now, as I grew up, lots of different medications. I was in special ed for a while, speech therapy, uh, different things that really stabilized my body and got me in a spot where life was per se as normal as it was going to get for me. So I ended up uh, being able to really just talk to my second husband about things. He understood me from high school and moving on. We had some crazy ghost things that happened. But for the most part, a lot of my visions, a lot of myself were calmed. I learned how to not talk about it. I learned how to not react. Um, Even at times learned how to push it aside. And so this was okay, and it worked for me. Now I'm stepping a little bit forward and a little bit forward. Now I get married, I have kids, I get divorced, and now I end up being a single mom, which is totally okay. It was amazing. My kids and I had a blast. Ended up getting in a relationship with somebody who I find out later was abusing the kids to some level. And he was abusive to me, got out of that relationship, and then met my husband, Andrew. My husband, Andrew's dead mother comes through, and she comes to me in this vision and tries to talk to me. There's a longer story. We'll talk about that later. My dead brother then comes in that vision also. And they both say, you have to end up with this guy. He's your guy. He's it. He's going to test you and challenge you in all the right ways. Y'all need to be together. I fought it for a while, ended up getting married. Turns out he's the person for me. And he's challenged me in all the right ways and maybe all the wrong ways. I don't know, to be decided, but for sure in all of the right ways. He has tried to love me and tried to understand me. And he was the first person ever who said, I believe in you. Go be yourself. From that moment, I tried to just be myself. Now, I was a nurse at this point. I'd gone to nursing school, was nursing at a pretty big hospital. And I go to work the next day after this vision. I start touching people and I can just know exactly what's wrong. I don't need labs. I don't need scans. I don't need anything. I'm telling the doctors exactly what's wrong. It's proving right. So this goes on for a while, and a supervisor of mine catches on, and they catch on to also that the patients that I'm working with are healing so much quicker than other patients also. So she asked me to do a healing on her. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. She says, you do, because you touch people, they get healed. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I really kind of didn't know what she was talking about, but I know that my hands get warm when I touch people. So she tells me, okay, go ahead. Just put your hands on my head and pretend as though you're doing a healing. So I do. Now, mind you, at this point, I am not a godly person. I had been through all of the different abuses. I have, my family was not, was not good to my mom, but was also not okay with my mom. And so therefore we got chastised as the family. I was actually forbidden to talk to my grandmother by some of my uncles, forbidden to go see my grandmother because they thought that the visions and the things that I have were so crazy. And yeah, if you don't understand them, I understand why it seems like it would be crazy. But I'm going to walk you through a series of events that's going to make you maybe question your own reality. And I'm going to put it in ways with research and study that it's going to inspire you to start speaking your own truth and maybe bring your own craziness out, because really crazy is just anything outside of the box thinking. Okay. I'm outside of the box. I embrace the crazy now. In fact, if you don't think what I say is not crazy, I probably didn't do it right. If you didn't think it was weird, probably didn't do it right. Those are two words that I will now identify as, because I embrace it. I'm crazy. I'm weird. But I'm also raw. I'm also real. I'm unedited. I'm educated. And I love you. I'm going to swear. I'm going to be sassy. I'm going to cry. I might even scream. I'm going to show you guys all my emotions. I'm just going to be here with you. And you're going to be here with me. And just really the thought process. Because it's really what I've just been going on. And I've started really working on things every day. But anyways, back to don't get out of line, Melissa, right? That's what the guides are saying, the spirits are saying. So anyways, I put my hands on this woman and she says, you healed my headache. And I know exactly what you did. You did Reiki. Say, what? Okay. So I look up Reiki, makes sense to me energetically. Most thing that made sense to me. I go to a class. Saturday, I get my Reiki 1. Sunday, I get my Reiki 2. This should never happen. When I was at the class, I actually started teaching more of the class than the teacher did. In fact, there was supposed to be a Reiki share just 2 weeks or so after that. And I went to go to this Reiki share, and turns out it was canceled, but there was a class. The teacher said, "Oh, this is Melissa, and she is very intuitive, very psychic," which, mind you, I am extremely intuitive. I do not like the word psychic. We'll discuss that later. Would people say I have psychic abilities? Yeah. I just don't want to be associated with psychic. Psychic ruins the universe. Anytime that a psychic person tells anything about the future, it actually changes the future, and therefore it is no longer the future. It is what they saw in that vision. And so they go and they tell that future, and people react to the future before the future even happens. So it changes the day, it changes the moment, it changes everything within the universe, because that universe was accounted for that energy, which is why the psychic understood. An intuitive person knows exactly what to say. So when that moment happens, they understand and they go back to that reading. But none of the information was given so that the person didn't live the moment. Psychic abilities are not okay. I'm going to say that. People put me in psychic galleries. They say psychic reader. They say that. Sure, that's the core category I fit into, because they can't say intuitive. But truthfully, do not ever use your psychic abilities. Now, if you're seeing something, use your intuition to guide, but do not tell the story. We'll go on another rant about that another day. But anyway, please know, intuitive. And so she says, Melissa's intuitive and very psychic. Again, I'm intuitive. And we start teaching class. Angels show up. I start telling people about themselves. I start channeling. Every answer that was asked in the class, I could answer. The teacher couldn't. And then they go into their Reiki 2. They're supposed to pick a partner, supposed to heal somebody. At that moment, the Reiki teacher that I had a boot on. She had hurt her ankle and had cast on. Now, also, I do have to say that my lineage is very important when it comes to Reiki. I was one of the 9th people down from Usui on the radiant side. There's, and we'll talk about Reiki another day too. So I ended up showing her, or I end up doing this healing on her. Now her foot is so swollen, it's broken, but they cannot cast it because it's so swollen at this moment. And that's why she's in this air cast. And we start doing energy work, and I hear click, click, click. I just step back, I put my hands up, and her face just makes a look. She looks at me, and I said, "I'm sorry. If I hurt you, did you hear that? Did you feel that?" She said, "I absolutely heard it, and I absolutely felt it. I need a moment." And she gets up and she walks in the back, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did." She comes back. She gives me a certificate for my Reiki masters. She says, "There's nothing to teach you. You already know. You're a master. You're a master healer." And she didn't have her boot on, and she was walking on her foot, and said that her foot was completely healed. Test this theory again. My friend is supposed to go to Arizona. She breaks her foot. She goes to the doctor, and they say, "You have to go on a cast. You have to be in a cast." She's now not supposed, and she can't go to this trip to Arizona that she was really excited about, because she's supposed to walk around, and the doctor says to be off of her feet, and that's the doctor's recommendation that they tell work comp. And so she comes and says, "Can you heal my foot?" We heal her foot. She goes back into the doctor and says, "I'm fine. Can you tell me I'm fine?" They don't believe her. She's putting weight on her foot. They do a x-ray on her foot, and it actually came back in the doctor's notes. uh Miraculous healing. There was nothing to her feet, and in fact they even x-rayed both feet, because they thought, well, this doesn't make any sense. It was very confusing. So it was just put in the medical records, miraculous healing. That was it, and sent on our way. I start just saying, okay, well, what if I can do Reiki? And I start, just testing on people. I start doing my energy work and whatnot, and people are very, very, very reactive to it. Miracles are happening. As these are happening, though, I'm going more and more into my old visions that I used to have. And as I close my eyes and I'm doing healing, I'm going through these different worlds, all of these different energies. I'm seeing sacred geometry. I'm seeing all of these colors, frequencies, all this stuff is coming at me. And it's all confusing because I don't know what it is. And everybody's told me that it was crazy. But at this point now I'm an adult, and my husband said, I'm going home and I'm telling my husband, and his mother was very intuitive. She saw auras, she did energy work. She would say, watch that person from across the room, I'm going to make them itch their nose. And she would just itch her nose, and they would itch their nose. Now I wasn't there, she died prior to me meeting her in the ghost realm, or in the spirit realm, sorry. But my husband told me all these stories, and he said, you remind me of my mom and all the things that she could do. I believe in you. Keep doing them. And the more that I did them, and the more that I talked about it, the more that I was just me, more and more came out. And then I started looking about the science of it, and I started seeing like the things that I was seeing are very relative to the things that were actually happening. And in science equipment, but my eyes could see without the microscope. So I start putting my information out there. I start saying, this is who I am. This is what I do. I open my little business, Euphoria Reiki. Very excited about it. And then I suddenly get invited to the 6th annual symposium held at Harvard faculty. And it's each symposium. So if you know what a symposium is, it's based on Plato, and Plato would have these symposiums, and the symposiums, people that were the smartest scholars, Socrates and all of them, they would show up and they would all share their information to each other. So the smartest of the smart were invited there to share what they were doing, their perspective, and just advice, stories, commentary, whatever, so that other people could maybe grow from that and expand what they were doing. The particular one that I was at was the first holistic arts symposium. And so that was what I was invited to speak at. So I was one of 30 people across the United States of America that was considered a mastermind. 13 of us within the 30 spoke on our specialties. I was first speaker. And I'm trying to write because I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to bring Harvard style. And this girl that was like a nurse that starts bringing her little, massage table house to house to house until she gets enough money and enough clientele to quit nursing and get her own little office area that was like a one room, $100 a month. And she is going to the mastermind program. I didn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it, especially because everyone says I was crazy. We get there and somebody says, how did you pick us? And very simply said, we threw out an algorithm for genius. We threw out an algorithm for this. And this was what was picked up, and your name was picked up based on a lot of computer data, what was seen in speeches. I was a public speaker. I was a teacher by this time. I was a healer. I was coming out on the internet saying things. I also ended up being a radio DJ. I had about 400,000 listeners. So I'm getting out there, but the energy is a lot. I'm also throwing festivals and hosting sacred gatherings, doing the ceremonies, doing all of this stuff. And I'm really like, my career is pumping and it's going. And then, and especially after this Harvard thing and speaking to them, now I'm at like what should have been the height of my career. And during that time, now people are recognizing me. I'm talking to quantum physicists, metaphysical scientists, ITs. They are just going, what in the heck? Who are you? Where did you come from? How can we work together? Started doing different research projects. Turns out I was right. And the research was so wonderful, but I was working under other people's names. And working under other people's names means that the way that they want to present the project to the public, it gets presented. Now, I believe on several of the conscious projects I was working on a lot of even the medical studies that I was working on, when that study is done, you don't have rights and you can't really say anything. People are going to listen to what the research is going to say. And the research was phenomenal, but it could have made a better impact. I prayed and prayed and prayed for that better impact. COVID happens. I got blessed. There was a lab that shut down. I bought $110,000 worth of equipment for about $3,000. Now I have a full blown lab. Now I'm going to show the science behind energy healing. Everything's going great. Set up for a TED Talks. And then my kids are telling me, Mom, we want you home. You're not home enough. We miss you. And so I dial it down about 50% and start hanging out with my kids. And then they're still wanting that attention. I get cancer. Everything for a while seemed lost, but it wasn't. It was just a reflection time for me to actually see what I could do, see how I was made, see who I was, have morals, decide what was best for me. During that time, I assisted in co authoring 9 books. I started telling my story in ways I hadn't. The crazy sides of the story is the like spiritual sides. People listened. All of the books, bestsellers. I believe 2 were even international bestsellers. Phenomenal. Then during this time of this book writing, I meet this wonderful gentleman. His name was Noah Smith, and he is a wonderful beyond verbal, aka non-speaking individual. And he starts talking to me during one of our meetings through telepathy, which I've done all my life. And realistically, I've just thought that's the way people talk sometime. Like I never thought that it was a different kind of thinking. I just thought sometimes people look at each other and they just talk in their heads. I don't know why I didn't think that it was something different, because it happened so often and it happened with a lot of autistic people. And so him and I start talking, and I said, oh, well, I say something as mom, and she doesn't say anything. And I said, well, what? Is anyone telepathic but you and your mom? And he said, my mom's not telepathic. I'm going, what? So I'm a little crazed out. And suddenly he starts talking to me and telling me like, I'm having a bad time, call my mom. And we get this super good relationship, and it's amazing relationship. And I don't know how, other than telepathy and just knowing people's energy, I would just know what's happening with him. And he was in Indiana at the time, and I was in Minnesota. And it was every call, I would know exactly what's going on, what's happening. So now this happens with him. His mom introduces me to other people, it starts happening with their children. I start explaining to their parents how they're feeling, what they're thinking. And this is just a fun gathering at first. Like, hey, I didn't know you guys couldn't talk. Do you guys need help? You want to talk to your kids? I can talk to the kids. So we do a documentary. We start a little podcast, and we got picked up, or talked to by Kai Dickens, who at that time was doing Signal, was not doing telepathy tapes. Later on, she had decided that she was going to change Signal, which was a movie we were doing, into a podcast for funding reasons. She ended up doing that. I was only on episode 10. And I did the crisis. So if there were people that were having issues and whatnot, that were calling in and saying, hey, my kid has this issue, Kai would say, go talk to Melissa, and I would talk to them. One incident, we had this beautiful person, her mom called in and said she's going through these aggressions, she's going through this behavior issue, all of this is happening, and I need help. Now, mind you, a lot of the work that I've done since I was younger and a lot of the trust was based off of angels. And in fact, 9 years prior to this conversation I'm going to tell you about, there was an angel that showed up in my life. And this angel showed up. She taught me how to do crystal readings. She said, stay off the tarot. Tarot has an evil energy that's with it and attached because so many people have tried to put voodoo onto the tarot. So please don't do that. I will show you how to do crystal readings. She taught me how to do crystal readings. She taught me how to heal, now ironically, stage 4 cancer within about 6 hours. I can't do it on myself, but I'm here to teach people apparently the slow run, or I needed lessons myself, which I did. Thank you, God. Praise you. Anyways, she helped pick out colors. She has just been there in so much of my life that this was my angel. I mean, she was the one I trusted in all the time. Now, mind you, I don't think she's real. I just think like God sends angels down, right? And this girl shows up on the phone. She shows up as a girl, and mom says, can you tap into her? I say, sure. We ask her, is it okay if we have a telepathic communication? And she spells yes, because she can spell and speak some words, but she doesn't speak fluently. So she ends up letting me check into her spirit, and immediately I see the angel that I've been talking to for the last 10 years. Flipped me out. So now, mind you, I'm starting to realize that some of these things that I thought were not alive or were God sent, what they still are. And I fully believe that. But now I realize that some of the things I was talking to that I thought was of spirit might actually be real people. Turns out she wasn't the first. Start finding more and more people. And as Kai graciously was putting trust in me at that time and saying, hey, have that crisis, or can you help out? And then also being part of Let's Be Now, which turned into our account actually got hacked. We couldn't get into it. We had no rights over to it, so we changed it over to Let's Be Telepathy, and now I host that weekly. We have lots of co-hosts. Pretty much, you show up, you want to co-host, you're a co-host. But what we do on that weekly meeting is people just get on and they have their Beyond Verbals, and then parents ask a lot of questions, or caretakers ask questions, and we answer it for them. And it ends up being right. And all of the readings that I was doing were right. And all the things that I was saying was right. So I know that when I check into myself, I'm doing what's right. And people affirm that. Now we advance further. People start hearing about our stories. The telepathy tapes get big. People start hearing about me. They come check me out. Also, during this time, I start getting out information. I made a functioning microbial that is a full spectrum fungi that is yeast, mold, and mycelium that you can inoculate on water, and it will form a bridge under any oil spills, gas spills, petroleum, styrofoam, or light plastics that exist. And it will make a barricade between the two substances, such as water and oil, and it will eat the oil. And once it's done, the mushroom just drops, dissolves, and dies. Some of them turn into these cool isotropic, which are square crystals too. We'll talk about that another day. But I got that project going on. I got my lab going on. Now I am testing people, and I'm testing my healing abilities. We are doing DNA. We're taking visions of the eyes all the way back to the brain, where we can see it with the big scopes that the ophthalmologists have. And we are seeing their irises change. We're doing bacteria, seeing before and after. We're taking blood, seeing how their blood and their plasma change before and after all of this. And we're having results, and it's amazing and great. All of this is happening. Start doing different tours, start doing vendoring events, name starts getting out there. Beta Austin, who's a wonderful water researcher, she ends up watching the telepathy tapes. Her wonderful husband, Ryan, says maybe you should get a hold of them. Through the telepathy tapes, there was a message that was sent out, and somebody said, Melissa, you need to contact Veda. I already told her about you. We got with Veda, and now me and some of the nonverbals are doing water research with Veda and trying to tell the most epic story of water, what water is, show that it not only is conscious, but I believe, as do the autistic people, which we call autists, are believing in, and that is that water is consciousness, not that it's just conscious. It is consciousness. It adapts, it has memory, it can predict the future, it can tell the past, it can mimic, it can change, it can reflect. There's so much that happens. And I encourage all of you to check out Veda Austin's work. Amazing, amazing, amazing. We just did a webinar. Check that out also. You could see more into that work. Check out Let's Be Telepathy, B as in BEE. Melissa means honeybee. Bees also have a lot of telepathy. So Let's Be Telepathy is some of the other work. You guys can all see this. I start picking up. Then I start doing other people's podcasts, and the world is starting to hear from me. And I am starting to hear time after time after time people saying, Melissa, I listened to you over and over and over again, and the things that you said just hit my heart. It hurt that I didn't hear this before. We need to hear more, and that's what I keep hearing is we need more. We need more of you just speaking your life, just speaking about your what you're going through, your experiences, your reflection. And again, I just kind of sat back going, I don't know. Now my kids are grown. I have grandbabies, as I said. My youngest is 19, and I'm free to do this. I'm free to have this career. I'm free to travel. I'm free to do the things that I'm ready to do. But I wasn't ready for the energy. I wasn't ready for what I was up against, because in my head, I was up against people, right? I was up against bad comments. I was up against my character being taken apart, my words being misused. I'm up against so much by just saying anything publicly. The truth is, after yesterday and what happened with my grandbaby, I realized I'm up against so much more than humanity. This isn't about humanity. I'm not coming on this necessarily because the humans pushed me to do it. I mean, in a sense, you all did. But what pushed me is that I've been getting more and more and more irritated with how easy things are and how hard people make it. The things that people are upset about, the things that people want to put their energy into. I'm exhausted. The spiritual war is real. And I saw it and I've seen it for years, especially around the times of these eclipses. Huge. And I see this, that I see sometimes that there are demons and there are angels in people. And sometimes I just have to say this too, because again, nothing's absolute. There are bad angels. There are really bad angels. And there are really good demons that We're just born that way or made that way, and they actually want to be more angelic. So I have to say that don't always take anything that I say for absolute, good or bad. But I was noticing that there was chaotic energy around people and divine energy around people. And the chaos loved building chaos, and it loved breaking up the divine. And then I started seeing demons and angels attached, and they were attaching themselves to people, channeling through with the divine and forcefully coming through with the demonic. Humanity has let itself go so much. They have become so disconnected, so non-caring, so opinionated, so labeled, so stuck in their ways that they are no longer adaptable. Many people, and I'm not saying everyone, again, don't take anything I say for absolute. However, they become so adaptable. And in that adaptability, there is so much divinity. But I'm watching a spiritual war, and a war actually happen within each of us, a demon and an angel. Which one is going to win? God or Satan? Call it whatever you want. You don't need to use the word God. If you're okay with Allah, you're okay with plant. If you're okay with whatever religion you want, use your words. Insert words if you need to with mine. Please just don't say I said those words. But adapt it to your story, please. Because I'm not here, and I won't ever be here to force my absolute belief onto anybody. In fact, I'm here to challenge my own. That's part of this podcast too. You're gonna watch me challenge myself. That way you learn how to. The spirit war, all of these divine people are like, we already won. We didn't. And that's why we're seeing crime. That's where we're seeing so much hate, so much addictions, discord, loss, grief, sadness, anger, abandonment. I could go on and on and on. Use all whatever you would fit into per se negative words or negative feelings. We see it. We don't need to show or to talk anymore about it. You see it, you know it, you felt discomforted. And if you did, that's probably why you're on this podcast, because you're like, the world's crazy. We need somebody to talk about it. And how can we help ourselves and fix it? Because so many people have gone through so much trauma that they are their trauma, and they're not even a person anymore, which then puts them into being inhumane. Now, inhumane means being cruel or uncaring to another human being or another living being, depending on the dictionary. Sometimes this is human being, sometimes this is living. But anytime you are uncaring towards another living thing. So we don't have a world of humanity. We are in a world of inhumanity. And when we are in a world of inhumanity and we disconnect from our fellow people, from our land, from our world, from everything else, we end up getting disconnected in a way that other things can come into us. Other things can then control. Because if you say, I don't want to be here, something else is going to want to. Something else will say, I'll take that body. You know what? I'll take it. Many possessions are happening all over the place, and people are allowing them. And anytime we step into these per se negative feelings, we allow those demons, we allow the entities to come through. And a lot of times the entities are the emotions that we built upon ourselves that we thought were something different, and it wasn't. It was just our over emotions that were fighting us, going back into our head, going back into witnessing and how God is feeling and Creator's feeling, and witnessing all of this, the craziness that's happening within our world. We beat ourselves up, we tear it apart, we look at it, we want to reorganize it, we do all these other things. In this podcast, we're going to talk about how to do this healthy. because chaos is going to happen. And the closer that you are to God, closer you are to divine, closer you are to yourself, your true self, your humankind, which meant that humans were kind. It's in our name. We're supposed to be that way to each other. Very simple concept. Lots of people don't understand. We'll teach you how to be kind in this podcast, guys. Don't worry. And I can teach you how to be unkind too, I guess. It's going to go both ways because it's an all around kind of podcast. Anyways, the more and more I step into these projects and the more I'm helping with water, I'm on a project telling the story about Earth, a very big project with some people right now. I'm not ready to name, I'm not even ready to talk about the project. It's going to be a very big surprise to the world when it comes out. I'm working with different scientists, neuropsychologists, doctors, quantum physicists, metaphysical scientists. I am in it. And I know it. I researched it. I did it. I did my work. I did my research. I put the test out there. I've run the tests. And if I'm out there talking on these other podcasts, if I'm out here weekly doing this podcast for everyone else, you know what? It's about dang time Melissa gets her own. It's about dang time that I have a place that I can talk about anything that I want to talk about. If it hurts you, sorry. If you really think that what I'm saying are wrong, challenge me. I'll the challenge because I am wrong sometimes. A lot of times I'm wrong on the human self. Very, very, very rare. Actually, I haven't seen it yet. When I'm spiritually in myself and when I'm prophesizing, it hasn't been wrong yet. My readings aren't wrong. My productions aren't wrong. That's not wrong. And now it's go time. Now the world needs to hear it. Guys, we are in a place right now where the spiritual war, we're losing the spiritual war. We're losing our spirit to the chaos. We're losing our spirit to the evil. And somebody had said the other day, and it was the last time that I could just hear this statement, as somebody said, it's only going to get worse until it gets better. Now, guys, I'm in Minnesota. My daughter has been very affected by ICE and what is going on here. There have been guns fights at her work. She has been in school. She was in school when the shooting happened right across from her. So much is going on. And it's so easy right now to choose sides. But as somebody who truly is here to honor the whole and see the whole and bring balance and harmony, I must see what is happening on both sides. And I'm ready to bring harmony. I'm ready to bring truth. I'm ready to make sense of the things that have gone wrong in our life. I'm ready to call out the lies. I don't have much more time, and I might not. I have cancer, guys. So what legacy would I leave behind if I just left and God said you had so much to say and you never poured your words onto the people? Because right now, my silence is the greatest weapon to the other side, not even to my side. Silence serves me a lot of times, but I need to be loud. I need to be proud. I need to come out and say the truth. God said it's time, it's ready. We are no longer in a world where we are trying to fight for spirit. We are in a fight in a war of consciousness right now. With the modules that people have nowadays, with the AI companions, with the tools that they have to play on their computers, to watch TV, VR, to do all this other stuff, we lost sight of our connection with ourselves, with our family, with earth, with everything. Now, people have deemed consciousness to be awake. Oh, I awoke. I had this big awakening. Well, you wake every day. Waking up is just the act of not sleeping, guys. Now, consciousness, as defined by the dictionary, any dictionary you look up, is awareness, to become aware. So the more you are aware of something, the more conscious you can be. 2026 is the year that all of the information is going to start coming out. 2027, truth bombs are going to start affecting the truth that was hit in 2026. 2028, we're going to have to make a change. Are we going to stay with the old and stay comfortable in the discomfort, or are we going to find discomfort in the new? Because that's a problem, is people have become comfortable in their discomfort. And to say the words and keep saying the words, it's only going to get worse until it gets better, only means that you are okay with it getting worse. It means that you're too lazy to make it better. I don't want it to keep getting worse. We don't need worse. There is enough ancestral trauma that if all of us had perfect lives, all of the money, all the resources, everything, which we got a lot, guys. I'm going to say 90% of the people living in the United States, even on a poverty level, are still living like kings. You get to bathe every day. You get to work. You get to ride your chariot or your car. You can go get a massage if you want a massage. You can get your nails done. Sure, you might have to pay for it later, but you have the opportunity. You can have jewelry, you have food, you have perfumes, you have all the things that the kings wanted. But yet we still don't have enough, right? We're still consuming, which is why they call us consumers. And thankfully they do, because they know how to feed us. Part of the lingo. Pay attention to the words and things that they're calling you, because you might not be fat in your body. I am. I can admit that. But you might be fat in your body, but you might be fat in the mind. You might be fat in the spirit. You could be fat other ways. They love feeding you. And sometimes too much spirituality, too much white light, too much information is not a good thing either. It's all about balance and harmony. And we need that balance. We need that harmony. But right now, people are living so automatic that they are not consciously aware. And because they're not consciously aware, they give their consciousness to the things that they're dealing with, their addictions, the things that keep their mind going. And it's not always serving for the whole. It's not always serving for them. A lot of the ways that people resource their time, they regret later. I don't want you guys to be at that point anymore. I don't want the world to get worse. I don't want my descendants to have to deal with anything worse. I don't want that in my family lineage. I don't want that in my blood. I don't want that in my epigenetics, my DNA. I don't even want my ancestors to witness it so that they have to go through it again. We do not have to wait for this world to get better or to get worse before we make it better. We can see that we don't want to make it worse, and we can make a choice right now to speak up, to be a mediator, to be somebody who's going to talk to people, who's going to help them through whatever it is that they're needing help through. Because again, yesterday, a pivotal point in my life, when my 2-year-old grandbaby was on the phone screaming like I have never heard a 2-year-old child scream in my life, screaming at the top of her lungs that white demons were falling from the clouds. I'm sure many of you might say that's just a child and her imagination, but if you saw the look in her eyes, you would know. And when I went there, she could see it. And I've seen angels and demons all of my life, and I watched her watch a white demon with fear shook down to her bones, down to her core. Mom's crying. The other two babies are crying. Everyone was just a mess. Gigi had to go in, do an exorcism. Luckily, that's something that I do, something God gave me. God put me around people that were so horrible, that were so evil, that I know now how to stick up to it. I know how to veer it off, but I also know how to love it so that it can change and it can have that opportunity to change. Because as I said, a lot of demons, just like a lot of bad children, they're born into the energy and they're just living the same life that they're mimicking. There are people who are 40 years old who've never experienced love. If I could be that first person, it'd be such an honor. Such an honor to be the person that can show people they are loved. They have the right to be loved. They deserve it. They can have it. They can receive it safely. But more importantly, they are love. My life mission has been accomplished. And these white demons that are coming through, which are way more powerful than any black demon ever was, because they show up in light. People start seeing light. They say that they're seeing these beings of light and of pure whiteness. Whiteness isn't always good. And in fact, most spirits won't show up in white. They'll show up in a very specific color to meet your frequency and your energy and your aura at that day. Because God knows that the white light is life-threatening to humanity. In fact, Google it. White light versus darkness. Scientifically, what does that do physically, mentally, and spiritually? You will see that the white light will hurt people. It will make them go psychotic faster than staying in the dark. Depression, anxiety, heart palpitations, liver problems. There's so much that happens in white light, which is why they torture people in the light rather than the darkness. The body needs rest. Darkness is where we grow. It's not always a bad thing, but light's not always a good thing anymore. And the white light is all colors, all frequencies, all energies, all colors of the rainbows, all emotions tied into one. And if a person can't handle that, it becomes toxic. And that's why Creator will give out one color at a time. Sometimes when you work yourself up, you get more. And only when you need to wipe something out completely do you use white light, because the white light takes away everything, even the shadows. It'll blind you. It's a reset. That's not what everyone keeps thinking. Oh, call on the white light. Call on the white light. Guys, you're calling on everything all at once and then wondering why you're having a crazy experience in spirituality. I make a promise to my descendants. I will stand for what is righteous. I will stand up against evil. I will do the best that I can do to protect this world, to make sure that the demons and the evil and the chaos does not corrupt the divine. I will do my best to set patterns and organizations that work and function for humanity as a whole, and not for one source, not for one type of clientele, not for one race or sex or way of living. I will do my best to rid the world of the evil so that my grandbaby will never stand in her living room again, screaming the way she did yesterday. I am here as her protector, a protector to my daughters, my son, my husband, my family, my autistic community, Down syndrome community, WWOX, my whole telepathy community. All of you, you are my community. I pledge to you all. I will speak truth. I will honor God. I will do my best to restore faith. I will do my best to rid this world of evil. And if you want to be on that crazy train journey with me, if you want to hear all about it, tune in next time. Hit subscribe. Let me know what you think. Again, this is just my first one. God told me just to show up. And that's all you have to do. If you want to be better, start showing up. If you want to be greater, take responsibility for your own emotions. If you want to be the best, be accountable for your actions. And if you want to be holy, trust in the divine, follow the divine, and take that leap forward. You are good. God still loves you. You matter in this world, and that's why you're still here. Please ask questions. Be curious. Connect. Love. Feel something. You didn't come here to be numb. You didn't come to live somebody else's dreams. You didn't come to be somebody else. You came here to be you. And I promise each and every one of you, when you truly, truly, truly find yourself and why you're here, you will see the most beautiful thing you've ever witnessed. Peace be with you. May God be with you. May God bless this world.